What's going on, everyone? When it comes to the upcoming Lakers season, there are a lot of questions, right? Will this team work? Does this team fit? Will this team be terrible? Will this team be good? Personally, I don't understand how you can make an assessment at the moment, given that we haven't even seen this team perform at any level, let alone play a handful of games. And Russell Westbrook seems to be the odd man out, right? Doesn't really fit, which I do acknowledge, I do understand, but new coaching, new play sets, new defense scheme, new offense schemes, putting Westbrook in proper positions, running him in a more effective, efficient way can really help neutralize him and bring him into a positive. Now, how positive is yet to be seen. We'll see how it goes. But the consensus is Lakers need to just go all in. The Lakers need to make a trade Russell Westbrook, do whatever you have to do. And the big question is, why are the Lakers being so stubborn with both picks, right? You have all these deals on the table. All the teams you know want both first-round picks. So why not just give it, and instead of, punting the season, as people put it. Now, personally, I don't think this team is as bad as people think. I've made a lot of comparisons. I've made videos breaking down the comparisons to even the bubble team. And I do think that this team could be very underrated, be very great. Now, does that mean that they're a contender? No, I'm not saying that. But you get to the playoffs, you give me a healthy Anthony Davis, a healthy LeBron James. If Westbrook can be semi-effective, I'll take my chances against any team in the Western Conference. There's not a team in the West that has somebody that can guard and stop Anthony Davis. And I think Anthony Davis and LeBron James are going to be the leaders regardless, no matter what. Even if we did have like a roster that looked fantastic on paper, Anthony Davis and LeBron James aren't effective, aren't healthy, whatever, then there goes the hopes regardless. And here's my thing. I really believe if the Lakers had this team that is currently constructed right now, and we just added LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I think the whole narrative would be the Lakers are a contender, the Lakers are going to win the championship, the Lakers are the favorites, this, that, and the other, because you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis coming to the Lakers. I think the problem is you have this hangover of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis hasn't been able to stay healthy the last few years. LeBron James, you're worried about his age, stuff like that. But if we just acquired those two, even with, let's say Anthony Davis was with the Pelicans the last 2 years and was going through that injury bug, people wouldn't care. LeBron James, people wouldn't care. They would say, you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis and all these guys on the team. This team's going to be really good this year. And so I don't understand how we can say this team is going to be terrible and that they're punting the season when we haven't even seen them play. Are we undersized? Absolutely. Could we use some wing players? Absolutely. But good team defense, good schemes, stuff like that really can make an impact. We are big down low, which is good. That was our biggest problem last year. We had LeBron James and Stanley Johnson playing the 5 and the 4 on multiple occasions. They even had Carmelo Anthony playing the 4 and 5 on multiple occasions, starting. And so it's just, that's the problem. We just didn't have the size down low. And this year, at least we do. We have bigs. We have Anthony Davis. You got Thomas Bryant. You got Damian Jones. You got guys like that. You can have LeBron play the 4 if you need to. You have guys that can, Winning Gabriel, if he improved his three-point shooting, which I imagine he had to have, because the Lakers said that they weren't going to bring him back unless he did. So I imagine the Lakers did their due diligence. So I'm on the mindset, let's wait and see. Let's not just immediately jump to conclusions as to whether this team is going to be good or not. Now, obviously, if the Lakers can make a trade, perfect. Make a trade. If you can make a deal, perfect. Make a deal. But the Lakers don't need to make a deal just to make a deal, right? You don't want to jeopardize what could potentially be on the horizon for something that doesn't really move the needle that much. Now, if the Lakers could have gotten Kyrie Irving, absolutely. I think the Lakers would have went all in. I mean, they did. They were willing to give up whatever it took. They just wanted the commitment from LeBron James. Once LeBron James gave them that commitment, it's no coincidence they immediately said, here's all the pieces. But Kyrie was never leaving unless Kevin Durant was going to. And as soon as Kevin Durant decided to stay, that immediately meant that all bets were off. Lakers had no chance. Kyrie Irving is staying with the Nets. Now, could they implode and something change? Possibly. But we can't bank on that. We can't hope that that ends up happening. But beyond the Kyrie trade, what other trade is worth both firsts? And it's not even that the Lakers are like, oh, we value the first. It's not. The Lakers are willing to trade the first. They have said that they're willing to trade the first. They just don't want to trade the first for a marginal improvement because that's the only assets they have to upgrade the team if something better comes on the horizon. I'm not saying that something will, but who knows? Especially in the league we're in today with such player mobility, stuff like that. Who knows? Now, you break down, like, say, the Pacers trade. As great as that is, and as much of an argument as I think that trade out of all of them would make sense for both firsts, they want even more than that. The Pacers want more for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner than the Nets did for Kyrie Irving. Think about that for a second. They want us to take on Daniel Tice. They wanted Talen Horton-Tucker, and they wanted both first. Well, we don't have THT anymore, so now what? We're giving up a pick swap in like 2 seconds on top of taking Daniel Tice, who's probably never going to see the floor, and we have to pay for 3 years. Like, it makes no sense. And unless the Pacers are willing to come down on their price, it's a net negative. Miles Turner has been injury prone. He's a guy that, as great of a fit as it may work on the Lakers, he's still a guy that only averages 12-7. He's still a guy that, yes, he can make an impact, but he's not a superstar. He's not a top center in this league. He's not somebody that people are, he's not an Embiid or a Joker or, guys like that. Like, he is somebody that could definitely make an impact. He is definitely a good quality player, but we already have enough injury proneness on this team. Do we really want to give up everything for Miles Turner? And then Miles Turner and Anthony Davis go down, and now what? And then Buddy Hield, as great as he is, he's very one-dimensional. Got him on multiple years. There's a reason teams aren't banging on the door to go get these two guys. Not just that, but Miles Turner could just walk next year. There's no guarantee that he re-signs with the Lakers. And then you traded your assets for a guy that it was a rental for a year. And now you have nothing. And now LeBron is like, well, I need you to improve the team. And it's like, well, we can't. We traded everything. And then even the Knicks deal. That's another deal that could be a potential. Cam Reddish was even traded to the Lakers last season until the Knicks messed up the deal. Maybe a Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, and Derrick Rose. But again, what do the Knicks want? Because we can't force a trade. We can't force a deal to another team. They have to be able to negotiate and be willing to with us. And the problem is teams right now currently aren't. And so the Lakers are in a position where it's like, we have to write it out. We have to stick with it. Like, this trade, I think, is a great trade. But again, it's not worth 2 firsts. Who knows what Cam Reddish would be? And I understand the thinking like, oh, well, you're giving up Westbrook, so you have to give up a first, this, that, and the other. And I do understand that in most circumstances. But the Lakers don't need to get rid of him. And all of these trades benefit the other team as well. Like the Spurs, originally, when they were trying to be the third team in the facilitation of the Kyrie trade, that made sense because we weren't going to get anything from it. They were just going to take on Westbrook for a first. And that's where this whole, like, Westbrook, you have to attach a first to Westbrook. If a team was just taking Westbrook to absorb him for us to go get assets from another team, then yes, that's the case. But in these scenarios, like the Pacers deal, the Knicks deal, the Spurs deal now, where they want to unload guys, same thing with the Utah especially, it's not the same scenario. What the Lakers are doing is they're taking on salary guys and helping this team clear space and position themselves for the future. That has value in and of itself that is not being equated here. And same thing with the Knicks. If we're taking on Fournier and Derrick Rose, we're taking on salary. We're doing you a favor. We're clearing cap off your books. We're clearing up roster spots for your young guys. We're taking a guy that your head coach does not want to be there in Cam Reddish. Like, again, it's a mutually beneficial trade. And that all has value. All of those things have value. That's why these teams want to do it. The teams aren't just trying to take on Westbrook to help the Lakers. And it's like, well, if we're going to help you, we're going to get... No, they're doing it to help themselves as well. And that's a big factor that is not being equated in these conversations that, I see in the comment sections and stuff like that. People are like, the Lakers have to... They don't, because it's a mutually beneficial exchange. You're not just unloading Westbrook like you were with the Spurs situation. And then the Jazz. You are hugely benefiting the Jazz. The Jazz have to move off of 2 guys. And currently, based on Jazz reports, these are reports from the Lakers camp or something. This is coming straight from the Jazz. Is that they don't have any other options on the table currently. Now, could one pop up? Very possible, of course. You never know what tomorrow will bring. But with Utah, they have to move off of 2 guys. You're taking off salary off their books, and guys like a Jordan Clarkson, Beasley would be nice. You're getting a first. You're also making it so you don't have to just waive guys. I see people all the time that are like, Utah they could just waive 2 people. You really believe waiving 2 guys is better than getting nothing? Is better than getting something? Even if it's 2 seconds, that's better than nothing. Because you still take a cap hit. You still have to pay those guys. You still have to do that stuff, and you're left with nothing. So, why would Utah want to put themselves in a position? Yeah, could they just waive people? Yeah. But is Danny Ainge that stubborn to where he's just going to say, well, I'd rather just, if I don't get 2 firsts, well, then I'm not doing a deal, and I'll just waive these 2 guys. That's stupid. That's bad business. And that's not who Danny Ainge is. Danny Ainge is all about, capitalizing on assets. And I'm not saying that means he's going to cave and trade to the Lakers. Again, maybe somebody else comes out of there. Or maybe he drops his asking price to those other teams. Instead of a first, it's 2 seconds or something like that just to get assets. But I don't see Danny Ainge just waiving guys when you have at least a first round pick on the table or maybe a pick swap or something like that. Especially from the Lakers. If Danny Ainge really does believe that the 27th and 29th pick are going to be lottery picks, then that means he believes the 28th pick is going to be a lottery pick too. So even if you could just get a 28 pick swap in 2 or 3 seconds, that's more than nothing. So why would you just leave it and not take anything? Again, there's mutual beneficial transactions in all of these that need to be taken into account, that need to be equated to. But beyond that, even if there wasn't, the Lakers can't just make a deal just to make a deal. As much as everyone wants it to happen, we are in a position to where we may have to stand pat, and I don't think that that's the end of the world, because you never know what's on the horizon. You never know what's going to come, especially, again, in an NBA where player mobility is huge, and every couple months somebody wants out. Now, for example, and I'm not saying that this will happen, it's just an example, so take that in mind, but say Bradley Beal. Let's say Bradley Beal, again, the Wizards, they're terrible. They're not making the playoffs. He's like, I got my money. I'm eligible to be traded now. I want to be traded and I want to go to the Lakers. Everyone's going to be praising Rob Pelinka. Oh, I'm so glad he didn't make a stupid trade and he kept these first round picks. And, oh, now we got Bradley Beal and, and we unloaded Westbrook and we got the pick. What if that happened? I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying, what if it's somebody else? What if it's not even Bradley Beal? What if it's Gary Trent Jr.? Now, let's say he's like, look, hey, Toronto, I'm gonna opt out, and I'm gonna go sign elsewhere. So, if you want, you can trade me now, and I would prefer to go to the Lakers. And now the Raptors can get 2 firsts, something like that, and that's a marginal, that's something that could really help. A guy that put up more 30-point games than 90% of the stars in this league, like James Harden, guys like that. So I'm not saying that will happen, but who knows? It's better to make no deal than a bad deal, because you never know, especially in a constantly moving player mobility league. You never know what tomorrow will bring. We could wake up, a month from now, and Kyrie's like, I'm done. Or Bradley Beal's like, I'm done. Or, like I said, some mid-tier guys like, I'm done. Trade me. And what if the Lakers gave up everything for a team that's just not very good? And Rob Pelinka's in a position to where no matter what he does, he's going to lose. Because if he makes the trade and we suck still, everyone's going to say he shouldn't have made the trade, he should have stood pat. Even all the people that are talking about he needs to make a deal. And everyone's going to be going after his head. And if he doesn't make a deal and the Lakers suck, it's just, no matter what, I would personally rather him not do anything. And if we suck, let people go after your head, because then if a deal arises, that narration will change. Everybody will change. And for those that are saying, well, if they're winning, then that won't happen. Yeah, well, if this team's winning, that won't happen. And again, we haven't seen this team play. So how do we know? We don't. It's impossible to know. Again, I'm not saying that a big deal is on the horizon or something is going to happen or that any trade will happen. But it doesn't mean you should just do a deal just to do a deal, just so you can say you moved off of Westbrook, when we haven't even seen this team play a handful of games. What if they beat the Warriors on opening night? And then the next night they beat the Clippers and they start 2-0 and they beat the 2 best teams in the West. Then what's everybody going to say? I'm not saying that they're going to, but I don't know. Maybe they do. Based on history, based on, just, statistics and everything, the Warriors, the Lakers have a very high chance of beating the Warriors. It's like 85% of beating the Warriors because it's the first game at home when you get your rings after the hangover, that whole thing. And more times than not, teams lose those games. So that's like an 85% rate of those teams losing. I mean, look at the Rams for a football comparison. That happens. Teams, their first game back, they don't have as much motivation. They're all emotional. They're excited because they got the reins. And then they have the team on the other side that just wants to do nothing but just stomp on your throat and just show that, because you're the champions, right? That could be the Lakers. Lakers could beat the Warriors. And then let's say they have the matchup with the Clippers and they beat the Clippers. Then what? It's just like, let's wait. Let's let cooler heads prevail. That's my only thing. How can we be so quick to write off the Lakers when we haven't even seen them play? And again, if Anthony Davis and LeBron James were just acquired this season with this roster that we have, everyone would be talking about, the whole narrative would be the Lakers are a legit contender. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, they're going to lead this team to a championship, all that stuff. Yet, because they've been on the team for the last several years, everyone just assumes that we're going to be terrible. I just, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about the situation? Do you agree? Do you disagree? However you feel. Love to hear your opinions down in the comment section below. Quick little shameless plug, everyone. If you enjoy my videos and commentary here on this channel, As It Stands Lakers, then check out the link down in the description below and go subscribe to As It Stands. Believe it or not, As It Stands was the first channel. If it wasn't for that channel, this channel would never have existed. Because of the success of that channel, it led me to want to create this Lakers channel. So do me a huge solid. If you're not subscribed over there, go check that out. Go subscribe over there. I talk all things sports, all teams, things like that, not just the Lakers. So if you just enjoy my commentary and want to hear me talk about other things, or you just, are a fan of other sports and other teams, go check that out. I promise you will not be disappointed. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.